Back now on Triad today, time for our infamous roundtable. On my right, but always the political left, the illustrious Ogie Overman, award-winning broadcaster journalist. Next to him, speaking of illustrious, beautiful, talented, tough-minded, President of Dudley Beauty Products, Ursella Dundee Oglesby, and next to her, speaking of tough-minded, but nice and very handsome, strikingly handsome, is David Daggett, attorney with Daggett Shuler. Seriously, you saw David on the show earlier with Griff and everybody talking about backpacks for kids and what a great program that is. I don't know how much fun we're going to have with these guys because these are pretty heavy topics, but let's start out. Late last month, an Oregon judge ruled that a boy who identifies as a girl can now shower, not just can, but he's saying you're going to shower with biological girls, share the locker rooms. He told parents who were upset that this did not violate their constitutional rights. That's what he said. And he said, and you can always go into private school. Reaction, Ogie.
It's a tough call, Jim. I mean, you got to respect everybody's rights, but I've got to go with the kid. If they've had the operation and identify as a woman, a girl, I think they have the right to do that.
What if there's been no operation? What if there's been no?
Well, see, that's the gray area. You don't know really. I mean, I think so, but you don't want the kid to shower with the boys either.
Plus, Ursula, not to jump what you and David might say, but I'm worried. I mean, I wouldn't have money to send my kid to a private school if I had a daughter. So, Ursula, what's your reaction?
Right. I mean, I think the person reacted too far saying to send them to private school. I think that's a little much. I think, you know, we have to be sensitive to everyone on both sides. I mean, I know girls. I was a girl who didn't want to shower with the other girls. So, you know, I understand parents being, you know, a little, you know, just upset and just not understanding because unfortunately we just haven't been able to keep up with all of the social changes and we've got to figure out a way that respects both sides.
Mr. Daggett.
I think it's a tough issue. It's going to take a while to work out for society. The thing I don't like is that last comment by the judge. I take it as a flippant comment, and a flippant comment from a judge in this situation is not appropriate under any circumstances.
I agree. Now, a charter school in Atlanta just announced that it plans to replace the Pledge of Allegiance with a version that will be more inclusive. They say that many people in the community have been refusing to stand for the existing pledge. Now, are you okay with a publicly funded school, which charter schools are, changing the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Overman.
Well, I'd love to hear the wording of it, but if it's more inclusive, I would probably be okay with it. And the Pledge of Allegiance, it's not like a law or it's not separation of church, and it's just the legislatures decided to have it.
Yeah, they said they're still working on the version, Ursula.
Yeah, I think the Pledge of Allegiance is tradition. I mean, I like the Pledge of Allegiance, but I understand how some people can feel that it's not inclusive. So, you know, it depends upon what the other piece says. You know, I reserve my judgment for that.
David.
Yeah, we would have to know the full verse, but I'm a fan of the Pledge of Allegiance, and I think it's appropriate to have it. I think it should be in place. If we expand it, great. Don't contract it.
All right, now, most of us on this panel have covered this issue last year. Sadly, now we're going to cover it again because it has to do with something happening in Kentucky. School shooting happened earlier this year, which left 2 kids dead and 14 others wounded in a Kentucky school. Now, a Kentucky DA, the prosecutor, is now considering locking up parents who fail to secure guns at home, which their child then may use to shoot up a school. Are you guys okay with sending parents to prison for failing to lock up guns that are used in a shooting? Ogie.
Not necessarily send to prison, but I think you could craft a law making it a misdemeanor I mean, that's a responsibility. You really owe it to society and your kids and the other kids to lock your weaponry up.
Ursula.
I agree. I think that, you know, parents have got to be responsible for their firearms no matter what. I don't think that jail is necessarily the answer to it. I mean, we need some sort of deterrent, but I'm not sure that prison is the answer.
David.
I'm a fan of gun ownership. I'm also a fan of gun responsibility. We need to craft a law that has responsibility to it to hold everybody accountable for the use of their guns.
In accordance with new regulations, anyone living in federally funded housing can no longer smoke inside their building. Residents say this new policy violates their rights. You guys have a problem with a government ban on smoking inside taxpayer-funded housing? Ogie.
Well, I don't like it, honestly. You have the right to kill yourself, but I think the feds do have the right. It's their, you know, they make the rule. If it's federally funded, they have the right to make the rules.
Ursula.
I disagree on that one. I think that maybe they should find another way where certain floors are smoking, just like we do in hotels, that sort of thing. Certain areas are designated smoking areas, but to say that they can't smoke in their own apartment, I think that's overreaching.
I think you have to be very careful when you're regulating what goes on within the walls of your own abode.
Absolutely. This is still in the news. Former White House aide Omarosa says President Trump used the N-word back when he was hosting The Apprentice. All right, now here's a question. We won't get into the whole debate about the obvious stuff. I'm curious. Given who likes Trump and who doesn't like Trump, suppose he did. Suppose he was proven to be a racist. Suppose he stood up and said, I am a racist. Is that going to make any difference to his re-election campaign, Ogie?
Nothing will make any difference to the hardcore 20% of Trumpledites. You can write them off. They're deplorables. Write them off. However, that will swing just enough. That'll be the tipping point. Finally, after 1,000 others, what should have been tipping points, that'll end it.
Ursula.
I don't think it's going to make a difference to his base, but hopefully those who can see the damage that is being done will decide to make a change.
David.
I'm not going to be repetitive. I will say that we need decency and respect to all people across the board by everybody.
Yeah.
And we've had a
Here.
breakdown of that in society, and we need it back, and leadership needs to start bringing it back.
He's calling everybody names. I don't care what
Yeah,
color,
yeah.
size, shape, sexual orientation. If you go against him, he calls you names, which is a little unpresidential. All right, let's have a little fun with this finally. Renolda House Museum in Winston-Salem now offers 100 years free admission if you put their tattoo on you. Guys and gals, would you get a tattoo in order to visit a museum for free for 100 years? And if so, what body part would it go on? Ogie, I know you're in favor of body part.
No, I don't like tattoos, period. I'm not going to.
Ursula.
No.
No tattoos for me right now. Thank you, though.
I'm not a tattoo guy, and I probably won't live to be 158.
You probably will. David probably
He
will
might,
live to be
yeah,
100.
right.
David could use that. All right, well, that's all the time we have, except for this. According to boredomtherapy.com, if you give a child some pennies to play with, he'll be better behaved. As a bonus, if you give him lots of cash to play with, he'll grow up to be a congressman. For all of us here on Triad today, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next time.